You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a wash machine.
Monte with a scooping header in.
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Pella. Onside, 1-0. Blue fast shot. Oh my word!
Unbelievable. We ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It would be very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans, and available right here on southamptondelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show. No matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, I hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that if you are in the United States, which about a quarter of the listeners are, hope you enjoyed your Labor Day. Hopefully you didn't have to go to work, although some people simply do, and that's just kind of how it works. But I am recording this on Labor Day, and I think I am safe to record this intro. Now I've been putting it off because Saints have been doing some business. They've been loaning out a ton of players over the past couple of days, but I think with Lamina having just been announced at Galatasaray about 2 minutes ago, I should be safe in doing this now. But at the time that I recorded this week's episode with Rob Maddox, who you can find on Twitter at James Lord Prowse or on Instagram at Rob Maddox _, none of that had happened yet, so we don't talk about it. What we do talk about is the match against Fulham and being drawn against Pompey in the next round of the Carabao Cup, and also the point at home against Manchester United and what that looks like. So there's a bunch to cover. We do that with him. Rob spent the majority of his summer in the United States, and so we talk a little bit about that as well. Overall, it was just really nice to be able to catch up with him again after not having talked to him for some time. So as I mentioned, Rob and I don't talk about the loans or the outgoings, transfers, but if you're looking for that stuff, you can check out the partner page of this show, the Southampton page on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And there you will have all of the updates that you will need, get you all up to date with everything that has happened at the club up to now. So you can do that, and that is great. But for now, we're going to jump into my conversation with Rob Maddox. Once again, you can find him on Twitter at James Lord Prowse and at Rob Maddox _ on Instagram. All right, we'll talk to you on the other side. I'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Rob Maddox. You can find him on Twitter at James Lord Prowse and on Instagram at Rob Maddox _ And Rob, you've been on quite a journey over the past couple of months, and it's nice to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. It's good to be back in the country and back on your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, and you wound up actually being in the United States there for most of the summer, and
yeah,
you were halfway between me and you, if you can believe that.
Yeah, I was in northern Pennsylvania, near Allentown, about 2 hours outside of Philadelphia. So I was in a good spot, nowhere near the West Coast though.
No. I mean, as somebody who grew up in and around or near Southampton, and then coming over to the United States, like I guess when you picture the United States, is that what you thought it was going to be like, or was it slightly different?
I mean, it was. I've been to Florida a few times, and that was nice, but it's completely different to actually down in Florida. I mean, it reminds me of home, but it's a lot more spaced out. There isn't that much. I mean, where I was in kind of Hickville, so there wasn't a lot around, so you kind of had to concentrate a bit. But no, it was nice. Some of the people were really good. Obviously, there was a few people to avoid, but yeah, it was nice enough. Yeah, it was good.
Did you run into any Amish people?
I didn't, but I did run into a few hicks with guns in the back of their cars.
Nice,
which is interesting. But yeah, it's
different experience for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You don't find that in South England.
No. Nor do you find it where I live in California. Yeah. Parts of me east, yes, but not where I live. And I'm not sure people realize. I'm sure people realize, but I'm not sure they comprehend. Like, the United States is so big and so vast and so different that one spot where you are could be night and day different from somewhere else. And you had some of that contrast being in northern Pennsylvania and down in Florida. And then you also had the chance to visit some other cities, I think, after you were done kind of working, right?
Yeah. So I went up and down the East Coast. So I went Philly, New York, Boston, and DC, and they're all good in their own different ways. I mean, personally, I really like DC because I thought DC reminded me a bit more of home, and the fact there was there was not a lot of skyscrapers. It was very based on history and stuff. Whereas New York, you got the hustle and bustle. It's nowhere else you can compare it to. But it is amazing. Like everything you see in photos and videos is there, and it's as good as it looks. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, Washington D.C. is pretty unique, pretty amazing. And I mean, you were there at a time when it was probably just super, super hot and humid, but it is an amazing city. And yeah, New York is as fast paced as everybody makes it out to be, which is hard to deal with sometimes if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, and 100%. I mean, getting on everything from just trying to get breakfast or getting on the subway, it's everyone is everywhere, and you're bumping into people, and it's very hard to find a place that's quite quiet.
Yeah.
So you have to go quite far into Central Park, but no, it is good in its own way. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, it's a bit like Central London times that by 10, and you'd probably get to the hustle and bustle in New York.
Okay. All right. Now, I know in the past, especially on your Instagram, you like to post photos and stuff. Did you get any photos that you'd be working on to post up there from your trip?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to go on a helicopter ride around Manhattan, which was really cool. So I set off in New Jersey, got on a helicopter and went around Manhattan. It's a special kind of trip where they take the doors off the plane, so your feet are dangling out.
Oh my gosh.
It was one of the best things I've ever done. It was absolutely insane. I also went up to the top of Rockefeller, get a nice view of the Empire State, the One World Trade Center, which was good. But yeah, I'm planning to post a few more things on there soon. Right. But it was an experience and a half. It was great.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I mean, I always worry that sometimes people come here and they have a bad experience. It's like, well, never going back there again. It's like, man, there's a lot to see, and
yeah,
I mean, especially East Coast, everything's a lot closer together. Places are a lot easier to get to in terms of like just space between them. But like out in like where I live, like next summer we're gonna make this drive up to see my uncle about his new house in Idaho, and it's like it's gonna take us 2 days to get there. It's gonna take us more than a day just to get out of California, like just driving north, which is like you're talking 15 hours in the car one way just to get out of California, or just to get to like the place we're gonna stop the first night, which is nuts, but it is what it is, man. Like it's amazing. So, but yeah, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think about going again next year. I'll have to see what happens in the space before that. But yeah, I'd love to go back out there and do a few more things.
Yeah, because I mean, for people that don't know, you were working at a camp, right?
Yeah. I was I went for a company called Camp America. So it was like an exchange, a cultural exchange kind of thing. So looking after kids for 3 months. It was good. I mean, it's definitely worth doing. It's an easy way to go traveling afterwards because you get paid while you're out there. So you get the good stuff to put on your CV while you're at the camp. You get to meet people at camp and stuff. But then afterwards, you got the funds to be able to travel for a bit. So I traveled for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, which in my opinion, with the hustle and bustle of the country, it was the right amount of time. I probably couldn't do anything more than that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to see, but if you cut it up into different days, you can just get it done. Yeah. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, I'm super glad you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll do it again. And hopefully you got a few kids calling it football instead of soccer at this point.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I made sure that was the number one thing I stamped down, and it worked. So
here for cultural exchange, this is what you'll call it. That's how we roll. And then, I mean, your timing is impeccable because when you went back, you landed and basically went straight to Fulham, right?
Yeah, so I landed on the morning of the 27th. So I set off from New York in the evening of the 26th. Landed on the 27th, which was on Tuesday, and Saints were playing Fulham away. I'd pre-booked tickets for it because I changed my flight to the 27th, and then the draw came out, and we were playing Fulham away. So I was thinking, perfect. I'll spend the day in Hammersmith and go to the game with my dad. Ended up doing that, which was sick. I mean, if you were there at the match, we had a little bit of bustle with the stewards trying to get everyone to sit down, but no, the game was good. It was the perfect way to get back into the country. I mean, it was doing the number one thing I like to do and go and watch football.
Yeah.
It was great to come back to that when I hadn't done it for a long time. It was really good.
Oh yeah, because you were kind of stuck here in the camp, you couldn't really get out and go weekend away and go watch anybody. And plus, I think where you are at, there was nobody really around, I don't think.
No, we had to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the nearest team. Maybe Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
They're
the Union.
And then maybe Columbus, depending on where exactly you were. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, not great. And definitely not where Josh Sims is at in New York, because that's actually in New Jersey, where you had to go eventually to take off and do that helicopter ride.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to see him, but I don't think he would have been out by then. But it was, I mean, I think if they're playing him in right back every week, they're going to utilize him wrong. He's not going to have the greatest time if they keep on playing him there, I don't think.
We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, but it'll be tough for them to get all the way through, especially the Union are playing really, really well right now. And they're going to have to meet them in the playoffs at some point. So that'll be that, but we'll see. And somebody's going to have to meet LAFC, who haven't been great in the playoffs. They tend to win the league in terms of points and then crash out of the playoffs. But we'll see how it all goes.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's the Sunday afternoon. It'll be on the TV, hopefully. I'll watch something while I'm editing this. But yeah, I mean, so the Fulham match. I mean, first time back in the ground for a while. I mean, have you been to Craven Cottage before or no?
No, I hadn't. It was on the hit list because it's a completely different stadium. It's very old, and you can tell it's old. The way it's set out, they got the cottage in the corner and everything. The stadium for me was a bit weird. They had a whole stand with all the seats ripped out on the left of us. Mm-hmm. So that meant there's the Fulham fans. There was zero atmosphere at the game. So the fans who were next to us on the right-hand side, I didn't hear one chant for them at all. It was pretty dreadful. Our fans were really good. I mean, I thought that we turned out really well for a game that's on a Tuesday night in London. I thought everyone turned out really, really good. The Fulham fans, they didn't really have anything, and it kind of showed on the pitch. Just because their team first half were playing really, really well, and really putting us against the pressure. Yeah. I mean, the first couple minutes, he had a free kick. I think it was Bobby Reed. He hit the bar, and then McCarthy had to make a really good save. And they probably should have scored in the first half with the chances they had, and that might have killed the game for us. We don't know. But the second half, completely different story. We really should have scored more. And it was a shame with the injuries that came out with Obafemi and Redmond. Thankfully, Obafemi's clear, but the Redmond injury was a bad one.
Yeah. And so I was able to listen to the first half, and then I had to go pretend to teach. So that's my job. But so I had the score kind of in the corner, and I saw Obafemi score, and I thought, okay, because the first half, from what it sounded like on the radio, it sounded like we were just lucky to get out of there with it being 0-0, and we didn't sound like we were playing very well. And
didn't have any chances. We had no chances.
And then it's all different once we get to the second half. But I wasn't able to catch most of it. But I saw the goal, and I thought it looked pretty good. And but the injury to Redmond, I mean, when it happened, did it look pretty bad right when it happened? And then, I mean, how long was he down and all that stuff?
He was down for a while. I mean, you should have seen how fast the medical staff ran to get there. They obviously knew it was serious by the way he went down. And he did go down really bad. He was instantly clutching his leg. I think it was his foot that he's injured. Mm-hmm. And his hand was in the air. And you could see it on his face that he was in a lot of pain. And he got kind of taken out. I think it was just outside the 18-yard box on his way to goal. And yeah, he got side down. It was a shame when he had to come off. That's for sure. It was a big, big shame because he was playing exceptionally well. And I think if we had him against United, we would have stood a bit more of a chance in terms of getting 3 points out of the game. Obviously, we'll get onto that later, but it was obvious that he'd hurt something bad, and we were all hoping in the stand that it wasn't that serious. But the same thing could have happened to Boufal. I mean, Boufal was in on goal, and as a tactical challenge, and it was pretty disgusting. The guy, don't know his name, came down the back of him, and his studs went down the back of his leg when Boufal was through on goal. Somehow it wasn't a red card, which I don't know how. But he could have got injured, but yeah, it was bad from Redmond. Definitely bad.
Huh. Well, I mean, it's super disappointing because he has kind of put in so much work over the past couple of seasons, and I think he's gone from being somewhat like a young guy who we kind of thought had a lot of talent and had a lot of kind of opportunity to someone who was underperforming to someone who had come back and was stronger, and then someone who I think now we were looking to as being almost like you're the man here, between you and Ings, and then for this to happen, it just seems just so unfortunate, and I was legitimately worried kind of going into the weekend of what it was going to look like, and it was probably always going to be the case for Buffal to come in, but that they're not the same player,
No way.
And so I don't know. I was a little bit worried, and I don't know, but we'll kind of get into that. But I mean, of course, we wound up getting through the Fulham match. I mean, is there anything else that you think stands out that needs mentioning there? I mean, we had the injuries to Djenepo, Obafemi, and Redmond, right? And then
I mean, with that lineup, we should have scored. We should have scored a lot more goals.
Sure.
I mean, it's not like we didn't have the chances. I mean, Romeu found himself in the 18-yard box one-on-one versus the keeper. The keeper made a good save, but Romeu's shot wasn't that good. And the same happened to Ings a few times. He was through on goal. He was clear, take it around a few defenders, and he couldn't finish. And he had about three or four of these chances where he just couldn't finish the ball. And it was getting to the stage where you're thinking, if Fulham get a goal back in this, I don't see us scoring again. So it was interesting, but we need to be more clinical. We saw it against Liverpool, and I'm afraid, but we saw it against this kind of weak Fulham squad. And we can't have that going into the run of fixtures that we have. No. Definitely not.
Now, I would like to be super critical of these guys not being able to finish, but I was telling you before, yesterday, I hit both posts and a keeper 3 times. One of them in the face in our tournament, did not score. So I can't, I have no room to talk.
You can't chat,
Yeah, so even the guys on the team were like, we'd like you to score, but like, I just think you should pass the ball. And I was like, it's fair enough. Fair enough.
No pain.
So there you go. But we get through the Fulham match, and then of course, while I was teaching, I looked at Twitter between classes, and all of a sudden Twitter had gone absolutely nuts because the draw had come out.
Mental.
And then this is what everybody wanted, and I don't know, like were you following along? Or you watching the draw live when it happened? And tell me kind of how you found out the news.
Unfortunately, I wasn't watching it live. I kind of same thing happened to you. I was checking Twitter, and I saw that because I was on the ride home. I was on the drive home from London at this point.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And I kind of just woken up from a nap because I was absolutely shattered from jet lag. Mm-hmm. And I saw that we drew Portsmouth, and I was absolutely buzzing. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I can't wait for that match. I think it's going to be a good game, and I kind of like how it's away from home. Then there'd be no excuses, because if we beat them, they could be like, "Oh, yeah, we were away at home at you. If you were at Fratton Park, we would have smacked you." But
right,
I'm very looking forward to it. It's going to be an interesting one. But to any Saints fan that goes down that day, please be safe. Don't do anything, to make the club look stupid at all.
Yeah,
I'd say, because obviously it's Pompey. We want to. There might be a few fights, but if you're just sensible, the club released a statement. Just make sure you're safe. Especially if there's kids there. Yeah, but I'm buzzing for it.
So what do you think the makeup of the fans that'll go down there is like? 'Cause it'll probably be season ticket holders only, I imagine.
Yeah, 100% full. Yeah.
And then, is this the kind of match you take kids to? Like, if you and your 12-year-old are season ticket holders, does your 12-year-old go to this? Is this the opportunity to go, or do you go like, sorry, dude, you got to stay home because it's a night game away from home? Like, this is not great.
If it was at St Mary's, I'd say probably if you're in the family stand, wouldn't recommend going in the northern. But I'd say because it's away, it will be season ticket holders only, and it will probably be season ticket holders only plus how many away games you've been to.
Sure.
Or how many of these important games you've been to, maybe top 6 clubs. It will all be based on how much money you've spent following the club. In my opinion, there's no way, in my opinion, that it will go to like official members or general. It will definitely, it will sell out probably within 2 hours. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. We know it will be a sellout, but they might do this bubble bus thing that they did last time we went there, where every single fan had to get put on a bus. No one was allowed to walk to the stadium. Every fan had to get put on a bus, dropped outside the stadium, forced in. Then they had to be waited after the final whistle, get back out, put on these buses, and then sent straight back. There will no way be anyone probably being allowed to walk to the match if they're going to be doing that. So that's another thing to be careful of.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a fantastic game to watch. It'll be feisty one because it's been 7 years. And we want revenge on these guys, obviously. It's a big derby. And it will be a chance for us to show Bournemouth and Brighton, who think they have rivalries with us, what an actual rivalry looks like on the South Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the last time we played them, I wasn't following the club yet. So it's been that long. And so this is all I've heard about. I guess kind of like Rob, this is the big one and this is what we want. And
please put our strongest 11. Please.
He has to, right? It's got to. I'm looking at we play Spurs after that, but whatever. You have to win this one. You have to win this one. So it's it'll be super interesting, and especially we played Bournemouth just the couple days before, so it's kind of a weird run of fixtures because you have the non-derby and then you have the actual derby, and then we'll see how it all kind of goes. So
I think Redmond, with his injury, I think he'll be back for the Pompey game, but I think he'll start as a sub, if I'm honest. Yeah. Because they said he would be out for, I think, 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks at max. So if his recovery is good, he's doing good, I think he'll get to start as a sub. I don't see him starting, but it'll be interesting. And it gives a chance for Lundalu to get back into the squad. Yeah. The under-23s. That gives him a little opening.
Yeah, and I was trying to think. He was on the bench yesterday, and I just think circumstances, relating to a certain center back playing left back, prevented Lindelöf from coming on. Maybe because I don't know. I think that's potentially what happened, but
maybe.
So I guess that's a pretty good transition into yesterday's match against United because, of course, as Ralph said, I think there was a Portsmouth paper, or some website or Twitter something who kind of totally misconstrued what Ralph said about the match, like it wasn't a big deal or something like that, and that's just not.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's ridiculous.
I mean, the journalism is as bad as their team, so it's
yeah, so true.
It's and I'll be honest, at 34, it's like I would love to engage with this, but I just don't. It's just not worth it. You're going to believe what you want to believe. It's just not. I don't need all that. So anyway, kind of going into United, because that's probably where our focus should have been, is on the league. We want to make sure that we're going into the international break with some sort of momentum and not being kind of sitting bottom of the table and having that. And that's just not what we.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Watford right now. That's for sure.
No, yeah, especially, that club has gone from being terrible and switching managers every 4.5 months, it seemed like, to being kind of a surprise and people being super happy with it. And now they're just not winning, and you don't know what they're going to do with their manager or anything else. But hopefully,
if he doesn't pick up points, he'll be gone 4 games after the international break, probably just before Christmas.
Yeah. It's weird to see them kind of fall off the way they did, because they were decent last year, But,
they were very good. We were unlucky not to beat them. We say that, but we were unlucky not to beat them. They had to score in the final minute of that match to beat us, to draw with us, which sucks.
And the year before, I think, was the handball goal, that they didn't get called on.
Oh God, yeah.
That
was awful.
They're not my favorite team to play, but
no,
I would have expected them to be better this year, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I guess getting into United, because that's what it is. The team sheet comes out. Valerie's on the bench. So you got Gunn, Cedric, Vestergaard, Bednarak, Danzo as the kind of the defensive and goalkeeper unit. And then in front of them, you have Højbjerg and Romeo. In front of them, Ward-Prowse and Buffal. And then in front of them, Adams and Ings. And once again, we see, Danzo being deployed as a left back, with Cedric on the right and Valerie on the bench. And I don't know, the team sheet came out at 3:30 a.m., so I'm not going to lie. I woke up, I looked at it, and I went back to bed for another 35 minutes because I just needed more sleep.
Yeah.
But, what did you make of the team sheet when it was let out to everybody and around you?
So obviously starting off with the keeper, Gunn, I'm happy with him starting. McCarthy played well against Fulham, but I think Gunn's still our number 1 keeper, let's be honest. Having Cedric in the team, I wasn't too dismayed with that, because against Fulham, again, Cedric actually played really well. His tackling isn't that good, I think, one-on-one. He's not a one-on-one defender like Wan-Bissaka or something like that. But in terms of getting forward and having an act on the game, I'd say he does get involved quite a lot. Personally, on his day, Valerie is a much better right back. And so I think Cedric was fortunate to get in the team. But after yesterday, I think he should be dropped again for Valerie. He was just not good enough, in my opinion, especially for the first goal. In terms of the rest of the defence, I would like to see Danzo play at centre-back again, even though against Fulham he played really, really well there. When we saw him in his natural position, I thought he was an absolute unit at the back. But it's going to be hard to drop Bednarek and Vestergaard as a pair, just because those guys, they've been playing with each other for over a season now. They both know each other's games, and it's obvious to see that on the pitch. Obviously, they need to step it up, but yesterday they were both absolutely fantastic. I thought Danzo played really well. He's young, he's going to get a red card every now and then. It's just going to happen. I wouldn't be too annoyed about that. And you could probably do with a rest as well. He's probably going to get benched against Sheffield. But yeah, I think it'll be hard to drop Vestergaard and Bednarek. But yeah, Valerie should come back in. Højbjerg and Romeu, what can I say? They're just our number one pair at the moment. They have to stay in the team all the time. Buffal was right to start. I thought he deserved the start. He didn't play badly at all. I thought he was a good unit. Ward-Prowse offered nothing on the right-hand side. He's just, if you play him in a winger position, that's not where he's best. I remember, I think it was Mark Hughes or Pellegrino, Puel were even playing him in that position a lot when we used to play 4-2-3-1, and he was just dreadful. He doesn't have the pace to be players. He doesn't have the trickery. And I mean, if DeGenepo was fit, I could easily see him playing ahead of Prowse for that game. Prowse is more utilised. We saw it last year in a midfield 3, where he was very, very good and picked up a lot of goals. But putting him up further up the pitch is not where his good position is. Adams and Ings, they're coming along. It's going to, again, I know we paid a lot of money for Adams, but give him time. I know he played well in pre-season, but we can't expect him to score every game or score at all just yet. Obviously, that's his job, but let's be realistic. It's going to take him a while. It took him at least a year at Birmingham to actually come good. And he still needs to adapt to the league and adapt to his new team. It's only been a few games.
Yeah.
He's not playing badly. He's getting into the right positions. He just needs more confidence in terms of in front of goal.
Yeah.
And again, Ingsy, you can't really drop him. He's probably our best striker.
I mean, there was some talk with Adams that it took him, I forget what show I was listening to, but somebody was talking about it, where it took him a while to find a partnership. He didn't start scoring right away last year even, and then he still went on to score 22 goals. It was just, they came in kind of, once he got going, he kind of got on a streak of scoring kind of right in a row and in a bunch of games in succession. But I mean, it's going to take him time. The league is completely different. And if you look at the opposition we played against in preseason, for the most part, it was not Premier League quality. So him scoring against the likes of those teams, you would expect that. That's probably more what he's used to. So the game was a lot faster. He's got a lot less time, and he's not necessarily playing just up front on his own, or even with just a strike partner. He's playing out wide a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit different. So, I mean, getting, I guess, just into the game. I mean, from the start, United do get on the board just inside 10 minutes, but the start was I thought relatively good from us. We were kind of on the front foot. We were pressing forward. Just straight from the kickoff, there was I guess 4 guys lined up on the left hand side. Ball goes back to Vestergaard and Bednarek, and then a long diagonal. Like, it was totally.
Yeah, that happens every game.
We just telegraphed it, but it didn't matter. We knew what we were going to do, and then. I mean, my main criticism of Danzo last time we saw him at left back was that he wasn't kind of supporting our offense, our attack enough, and we need that in this system. And he was always going to have a tough day, I think, up against Wan-Bissaka. But he was getting forward a little bit more. Crossing has something to be desired, but once again, he is a center back up there playing left back. So I just thought I thought he looked pretty good yesterday up until the red card. But United coming back the other way, kind of on the attack on the opposite side, on attacking Cedric's side. James looked really dangerous. Just, they looked like the pace was going to be an issue, especially with Ward-Prowse over there and Cedric over there to kind of deal with that. And I think that was going to limit kind of what Ward-Prowse can do in terms of kind of contributing to the offense if he's got to worry about the counterattack,
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I mean, when I guess looking at United's goal, was that just a good strike? Do we just have to give it up to him, or did we have to kind of say, it was a good strike, but there was something more we could have done kind of defensively?
We could have done a lot more. I mean, if you look at the goal, the strike itself was a great strike. I think Martin Tyler said something really stupid when it was like, those balls, if you strike them right, they stay struck or something, which is so stupid. But it was a really, really good finish. Gunn, obviously, he has no chance with that. But what interests me is if you look at Cedric's positioning throughout that goal, he's turned side on to Daniel James, which means he's obviously going to be anticipating him to run down the wing for him. He's expecting him to cut inside, which is pretty stupid because if you look at the goals that he has scored, like Crystal Palace,
cuts inside.
He's a right foot player. Yeah, he's not confident on his left foot. So if Cedric has he's been looking at the goals, he should be expecting him to cut in on the right. I mean, James looked dangerous from the start.
You should be giving him the line, right? You should be showing him down the line.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. The only thing I thought is maybe he's showing him inside where he's got help. He's got cover from Bednarak, maybe, but like I wasn't necessarily impressed with his positioning and his body position on that.
Yeah, I mean, he was still half a meter away from the actual player himself. He should have been rushing at that. I mean, we've seen plenty of players like Bednarak run at someone to block the ball, to block a shot, and he did that last match against United. But for me, Cedric had to run at James and just put his body in the way. It's obvious that he's going to open up to shoot. And yeah, he struck it really, really well. Gunn had no chance. But for me, that fault is on Cedric's, that ball actually got past him.
Yeah, once again, just slight defensive breakdown. And then I guess from there on, there wasn't, a lot going on. I think Danzo got booked in the 20th minute. And I'm not I think it's a yellow. I think it is. And I think actually both tackles were worthy of a yellow. It was just unfortunate that it happened. I think the second one was needless on his part. Maybe he just got rushed into trying to make I don't know what he was doing actually. I think he just got overcommitted.
It was pretty stupid. Yeah.
But things happen. I mean, Gunn didn't get anywhere near that goal, but I think other than that, like he had a pretty decent game yesterday. I thought he came up big with a couple of saves and so I mean, were you somewhat impressed with his performance there?
I thought Gunn played really well. Obviously, he had another shot from James, which he parried away. But his save against Greenwood kind of shows you the quality that he has. I mean, it was a good shot, and he should be saving shots like that. But it's just the way that he anticipated it is really, really good to see. Like, he obviously does his research a lot, and he is a solid keeper. And I can see him, if we can keep him for a while, he's going to be very, very good for us. He's still very young. And obviously, a keeper, you can be a keeper for a very long time. So if we can keep him for a while, he's going to turn into a very, very good goalkeeper. That's for sure.
Yeah, I hope I think he is going to stick around a while. He's obviously been the focus with Forster going out on loan to Celtic. That's obviously Gunn is the guy that's going to get the most game time, and now McCarthy's going to be the keeper for the cup games and stuff like that. So I think that'll be important for him, and hopefully he sticks around. So he's still only 23 years old, so it's good. So I don't know. The only other real thing I have down here is I don't really think we created that many real opportunities in the first half.
No.
I know Ings had a shot from distance with almost no angle. And I was just kind of disappointed a little bit with our crossing. I just didn't think it was very good. I thought their balls were going in kind of just not half-heartedly, but just with very little accuracy. It's kind of just hoping it finds somebody in the box, and that's not. I mean, Sunday League level, that's fine. I think you just hope it bounces off the defender, but for a Premier League quality team, you would hope you be a little bit better than that. Yeah,
I mean, obviously we scored off of a cross. There was one cross that worked, but if you had a look at the way Cedric was crossing, it was too far, or it was on the floor. And that really isn't what we want to do. I don't think we had many successful crosses. If we're going to be playing like that a lot, that is something we're going to have to work on. Danzo had a few opportunities. I think it was in the second half where he crossed and it went miles over everyone and outside the other half of United's box. And there was another one that didn't even make it past the first man. I mean, there was a lot of them that didn't make it past the front two men, which, I mean, if you're crossing into the box, that is what you should be doing. I don't know. They're professional footballers. They need to up their game if they're getting paid this much and they can't hit the first man.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it looks like Ralph's trying to concentrate on crossing a lot with the wing backs. I mean, it's good to see, but I think if you take Danzo out of it and put Bertrand in there, Bertrand will be able to whip it a bit better than he will. Again, because Danzo's a centre back.
Sure. Just kind of taking a look at some of the shot statistics yesterday. Rashford wound up with 6 shots by the end of the game. James with 5. And then after that, it's Buffal, Højbjerg, and Ings with 3, and then 2 apiece for Højbjerg and Ings.
Yeah.
So I mean, that just means Gunn was busy, and not all those shots were on target necessarily, but he was definitely having to work, and overall, I thought his performance was good.
Very good.
Who Scored gave him a 7.4.
Nice.
Ahead of him on that was James and Vestergaard, both with the goals, which I think bumps up their rating quite a bit. So, yeah. I mean, going into halftime, I think the positives, I thought Danzo was good other than the booking. And I thought that we had a good start and finish to the half. I think the middle kind of portion after United scored, we kind of lost our way a little bit. We lost a little bit of the fire and stuff like that. And you can't keep that up all game. It's not physically possible to just press the entire game. But
no, it's not. No.
But going back out into halftime, I was a little bit worried that, as to how the team would respond. And I always am. And I don't know why I trust Ralph. And I think the halftime talks are generally good, but I always worry about how we show up again. And I don't know. And I was really kind of tired of Mike Dean, to be completely honest.
He was very biased towards United last game, I thought. I didn't think he was. I mean, he never really shows quality. It was kind of a fun when Vestergaard just booted the ball at him. I thought that was great. Hit him straight on the back. It was a nice back pass, if I'm honest. He has a good touch on the back of his shiny head.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't like it when he refs us. I think he's always been a poor ref, if I'm honest.
I used to say that I don't want to complain about referees, but I think it's happened so often now that I don't think I can say that anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't impressed with his performance, and I thought, at one point in the first half, James Ward-Prowse got called for a handball when I was like, well, he was kind of protecting his face from Ashley Young's foot. Ashley Young, who I do not like at all. I think
I don't.
Ben Stanfield, host of the Total Saints podcast, and I both called him a prick several times on Twitter yesterday because it was just
he's in hell.
He is, man. Like, it's just terrible, and I whatever. I shouldn't be like that, but I am.
It's all right not to like players.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to abuse him too much. But definitely calling him a prick yesterday was not the worst thing I did all day.
No, 100%, yeah.
Leave that story for a different podcast. But anyway, I thought we looked overall just better the second half. I thought Buffal looked decent even when he came off. If you look at who he was up against Wan-Bissaka, who is a decent defender, and by decent I mean very good. So it's always going to be a tough day to kind of have him, and especially when you have Danzo behind you, he's not going to make those overlapping runs. So he's given Wan-Bissaka kind of less to worry about in terms of defensive duties. But shortly after that, Danzo gets sent off, and I thought, like, watching, it just seemed like he rushed in to kind of, I don't know, close the McTominay down, I think, and then kind of just was out of position and then lunged in, and that was it. And as soon as he did it, you just go like, that's it, he's off, because there's no way he's getting away with that. And I was really worried at that point in the game. I thought that was going to be our undoing.
Yeah, I mean, he's young. I mean, Ralph came out and said that he's okay with him being sent off because he's a young player and he's willing to put trust in him, and that's exactly what you want to kind of hear. But yeah, I mean, if a player goes past you, it depends whether the centre-back's coming across or not to help you out. If he isn't, then you're going to have to make a tackle. Or maybe he thought it was a tactical challenge, and you never know. If you didn't make that tackle, they could have went on and scored. We don't know that. But as he's a young player, so I could see him getting benched. I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't. He's a young player. He played well for the whole game. And we were able to hold on. I mean, obviously, if they scored, his head would be on a chopping block.
Sure.
But they didn't, so that's the point. And I don't think it's a big deal because of that.
Yeah, and like we said, I think he played relatively well before that. It's just, two kind of bad decisions on his part, and that's all it takes for you to be off. But
yeah, definitely.
And just looking at his average position yesterday, he was playing mostly in the opposition half. He was playing further forward than Cedric even. Kind of almost even with Ward-Prowse. Which just shows you how much higher we were playing. And even Buffal was pushed fairly far forward on that side. So like decent job, better job kind of supporting the attack, even if it's not Ryan Bertrand. But we did skip something. I don't know how I skipped this because it's the only goal we scored all day. But Vestergaard gets his first goal for the club to get us level before Danzo gets sent off. And it comes from a corner, and it comes from Danzo. Danzo puts the ball back in for the assist. So, I mean, what did you make of that goal? And it's finally nice to see, I think the tallest guy in the league, that Crouch is gone, to finally get a goal.
I mean, it's about time. The amount of headers we try to put on a plate for him, he just hasn't taken. I mean, every corner you're looking at him and you're thinking, he can probably beat anyone for a header in this league because of his height. But I think it wasn't really if you look at it, it was kind of like a Burnley goal, and it leaves your big centre back in a box, lump it up to him. But I mean, it worked. A goal's a goal. I think I'm happy for him. He obviously meant a lot to him to get his first goal because he scored a lot in his previous clubs, and it's nice for Danzo to get an assist as well. But it was exactly what we needed. We needed some kind of the phrase shithousery. We needed a shithouse goal really. To drag us in, because if I'm honest, I thought United's defence were playing quite well. I mean, Wan-Bissaka had Boufal on strings pretty much the whole day, I thought. I hate to say it, but I thought Young had an okay game. And the two centre-backs, I thought they played decently. Obviously, Lindelof could not be expected to beat Vestergaard to that header, because he just move him out of the way. You could pick him up and drag him out of the way.
Yeah.
Obviously, De Gea had no chance, but it was the perfect thing that we needed. We needed something scrappy, because it was a scrappy match, just to nod it in and give us a chance. Because you're always in it at 1-0. United did not take their chances. They had 23 crosses, and not one of them got on the end of it, especially Rashford. So we needed something like that just to bring us back in a bit. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you imagine, we could have made it more difficult for United had everybody been fit. I mean, you think you put Boufal on the right against Young, that changes everything with Ward-Prowse kind of attacking that side. You give Young a lot more to worry about and think about if either Redmond or even Djenepo are available, and put them on the left and let them run at Wan-Bissaka and think about Bertrand. But I mean, that's all what ifs, because that's just not how it works. People are never kind of fully healthy. And but I just think we could have done a little bit more to make life a little bit more difficult for them. But it is Manchester United, even if they're not as strong as they have been in the past. I just thought it was really good to see Vestergaard get up above somebody. Even, I think, watching it in real time, I thought it was maybe slightly more impressive than it actually was. Watching it back now, it's kind of happens all in slow motion, and but whatever. It is nice to just see him get up and get above somebody and head it in. So I'm pretty happy with that. But I mean, when Danzo went off, how worried were you that the game was going to change there?
I mean, because you see it all the time. I was just waiting for United to score a goal. Honestly, I was watching the stream, and as like everyone else probably in the stadium, was thinking, they're going to do something jammy. This is Southampton, isn't it? We never hold on to these kind of things. And when Greenwood went close, that was tough. When he'd just come on, he looked really bright, I thought, when Greenwood come on. And we didn't really do a good job of keeping the ball that well. I thought we were giving it away a lot. Obviously, we only had an outlet of Shane Long, so we could only really clear it for 10 minutes. And then, I can't remember who, I think it was Cedric, when he went off injured, we were down to 9 men for the last 3 minutes, and that was very, very, I was shaking quite a lot. It was quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But we held on, and that showed really good character to not only get back into the game after being one down, but also holding on to that when having to play without, with 10 men for 15 minutes. I thought that was really, really good. And that's different, because if we were under Mark Hughes or Pellegrino, they probably would have scored 3 against us.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't playing that well, just because our players would have just given up. And we didn't see that at all. And that was fantastic to see. It was very fresh to see.
Just a couple of kind of follow-up things on this. Going into the match yesterday, do you take a draw against United at home?
If we had Redmond, I reckon we would have won. And I would have been confident that we might be able to push to a win. But because we didn't, I'd happily taken a point. I mean, we needed a point going into the international break. Anything would have done, especially against a top 6 club. Sure.
After the game, we always do the 3-word match summary, or the mini match summary, which I have. I will freely admit to having stole that from the guys at the Fulhamish podcast. I've tried to hide it for a season by mixing it up a little bit, but now I've just fully embraced that they have figured this out, and I will piggyback on that. But some people go with that we lost points, like we dropped points, and I can see that, but at the same time, we played 20 minutes and a little bit more with 10 men. We played some of that with 9 men. And I think for me, Danzo getting sent off changes the complexion of the game, because I think there was definitely the opportunity there. Like if at the point where Danzo gets sent off, I don't think United are any more of a threat to score than we are. I think that we're just as much in it to win the game as they are. And with Danzo getting sent off kind of changes all of that. And so it changes the complexion where I no longer was disappointed that we got a point. I was actually I was excited and relieved, because at the beginning of the game I would have taken a point. Seeing how the game went in the second half, I thought, well, there's a chance for us to get 3. But then Danzo getting sent off, kind of go back to just securing the point is what needs to happen now. And we did that, and you could see what it kind of meant to Ralph. And fans on Twitter of other clubs will say what they want. But I mean, it shows what I think it shows what it means to him, because it was definitely, it meant something for the team, because like you said, we would have given this up in recent seasons. We would have folded under that pressure, and we didn't in front of the home crowd.
I mean, if you take it, a year ago, let's go back a year, we would have taken a point against United easily. And yeah, we got a point against United, but we would have taken a point against them, against that squad. Obviously, we had a weaker squad last season, different manager, but we would have taken it. So think about it like that. I'm happy with the point. I'd happily take it. And then our fan base, I think at the moment, is being we're kind of expecting too much because of what we were used to last season. It's like I saw people on Twitter slating Højbjerg yesterday. I mean, they were like, okay, this is the worst I've ever seen him play. He's awful, maybe drop. I saw a few people calling him for him to be dropped, and I'm thinking, you obviously don't follow the team that well if you think that he should be dropped, as he's our best player. I mean, if you have a look at the stats that he had, number 1 completed passes, 15 attacking passes, 11 ball recoveries, 6 interceptions, 2 tackles, headed clearances were there, and he filled in at left back for 15 minutes of the match.
Yeah.
So if you're calling for our captain to be dropped, you obviously are too negative, and I think that's our fan base at the moment. We're being way too negative. But
yeah, fickle, I think, and I think it's kind of normal. I think it just is what it is, and you want the expectation to be there. You want to expect the team to do well. I think we just have to temper those expectations sometimes and be kind of realistic about it, and realize that what I want and what is probably best for the club in the long run, we want the club to be successful in the long run, but sometimes just having it right now doesn't happen, and I can't see
we're still a team in development.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. We're still developing.
I guess last thing on the match, there were some, polls yesterday for man of the match. I think Romeu has gone kind of under the radar, but has been very, very good so far this season. Gunn had a big game. Vestergaard also scored the goal, obviously. I guess if you had to give man of the match to somebody, who would it be?
For me, it would still be Romeu, just because he was so solid. We would have conceded a lot of goals yesterday if it wasn't for that man. I thought that he's been putting in a shift recently, and he is getting on a bit, but he's still putting in the performances, and he deserves to get man of the match for that game.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's great. I mean, and the only person who had more tackles than him yesterday was Wan-Bissaka, and that's because he had Buffal dribbling at him, who was just going to run at him all day.
Yeah,
and that's you expect. I mean, we had more attacking. More of our attacks came down that side with Buffal running towards Wan-Bissaka, so there's a lot of opportunities. And I think if you look at sometimes Buffal runs himself into a dead end.
That happens often.
But I mean, people running through the middle of the park, those interceptions, those tackles from Romeu are going to be crucial. But so that's what it is. But I don't know. Anything else you want to say about the match, or you think we covered it?
I'd say I think we showed good character, and I'd like to see us perform like that most weeks. Obviously, we need to be more clinical overall. The strikers need to start scoring proper goals instead of Danny Ings just running at a goalie and hoping that he kicks it at him. But I think our strikers need to start performing. Obviously, it's going to take some time, but the odd goal would help with their confidence. But overall, defensively, I thought we played very well. That's starting to be more solid. We're not the finished product. There was still a lot of things missing in that match. Obviously, United put out quite a weak team because their team isn't strong at the moment. But I'm happy with how we played. we got the point. That's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And we go in now. Obviously, the standings mean very little at this point, but I promised I wouldn't look until we got to the international break, and we're basically there now, other than there are a couple of games to be played today. But we're recording on Sunday, but we're up to 13th, and it means very little because there's one win between us and the bottom, so it's still early, but
yes, it means nothing. Yeah,
we're there. But now coming up out of the international break, obviously we go away to Sheffield United. Then we have Bournemouth at home, and then we go to Portsmouth away in the midweek, and then Tottenham after that. So not an easy run of fixtures necessarily. A newly promoted team who will be looking to establish themselves, the non-rivalry or non-derby game against Bournemouth. The bubble bus match midweek against Portsmouth, and then of course you have Tottenham and Chelsea, which are going to be difficult. But with that said, we have a question from the In That Number podcast. They are another Southampton podcast. If you haven't listened to them, they're there. They're at Number Podcast on Twitter. He said, are the injuries to Redmond, Djenepo, and Bertrand and Danzo's suspension going to cause us problems in those matches coming up?
Definitely. I mean, with the first three you mentioned, Redmond obviously is our best player at the moment. I think, losing him is going to be big because there's no one that can fill his shoes that we have. Obviously, you can give Nlundulu, a good game, play him, see how he does. But I think Djenepo, I think he's back soon. I think he's back for next week because it was only kind of a slight muscle issue. And Bertrand should be back soon as well. But especially Redmond, I think, that's going to cause us a lot of problems. I think if he's back for the Pompey game, it's going to be interesting whether we play him for that, keep him on the bench, or whether we don't let him play that, make sure he's recovered good because we'll need him against Spurs. Spurs and Chelsea. But I think Danzo was going to get benched anyway next week, so that's not a big deal. But I think Djenepo and Bertrand should be back soon.
Well, I could be wrong because it's two yellows and not just a straight red. And it's not violent conduct. It's just it's a one match ban, right?
I think so. I think it's a one match. Yeah.
So he'll be gone for Sheffield. Maybe he comes back in for Bournemouth. But and also we have the international break now. We have 2 weeks essentially before any of those guys have to play again. Because a lot of them are not going on international duty. I don't think, and there will be a graphic out on that midweek when I have time to put it together.
I think Djenepo will be going. He'll definitely be going to Mali.
Yeah.
As if he's fit. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I think we have the players to fill in. I think Redmond is crucial. I think Redmond is by far kind of, if he's fit, he's going to play almost all. He's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet, I think. But I think you also have guys like Boufal who can make an impact, and Armstrong can come in and do it. And that's another thing that the guys from the In That Number podcast said. He said, I think whenever you lose a player as important as Redmond, it's going to hurt. But having said that, we have players that can fill in, like Boufal, and don't underestimate Armstrong. And I think both of them can do it. I think Djenepo can do it. I think we have enough kind of, you can shift players around, you can change formation. Well, obviously we're kind of tactically flexible. You saw Yoshida come in and play left back. We could have gone to a back three. But there's a lot of things that we can do. And it seems like at times Ralph has played the back three and then just not even had fullbacks really. It's Djenepo's just on the left, and just letting him run. And I think that's also fine.
Yeah, I mean for sure. Yeah, he summed up good there. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes. We also have a question here from Justin Woodward, who is one of the patrons of the show. And they have priority for having their questions answered each and every week, in addition to having a private chat and also getting an extra podcast episode per month. But Justin says, what was Ralph's thinking with putting players out of position in defense last week? And is Danzo the answer to our defensive problems despite his silly red today? So, I mean, does it bother you at all that we're insisting on putting Danzo on the left, or is it just kind of what needs to happen right now because of some of the injuries that we have, and maybe he's not deemed Vokins quite ready for that level of play?
I think the idea of Danzo going in to left back in the first match he came in was mainly just to see how he plays. I mean, in the second match he played against Fulham, he played centre back, his natural position, and he looked incredibly good there. And I was very impressed. Even though he picked up a yellow card, I still thought he played really, really good. The problem we have now is that Jan Bednarek and Vestergaard are both really finding their feet, I think. I think Vestergaard's improved a lot since the match at Burnley. Yes, it's only been a few games, but from what you've seen, he's kind of matured a bit more. It's going to be very hard to fit Danso in if we play a 4 at the back. If we're playing 5 at the back, he will fit in nicely with the three centre backs because he's quite a fast player. So he'll be able to cover quite well. I'd say it's too early to say whether he's the answer to our defensive problems. He's definitely going to help in terms of that, just because the kind of player he is. You can obviously see he's got good feet. He's very composed and he's tall and strong. Kind of like a mini Vestergaard. Because I think Danso is 6'3" or something, so he's quite tall. He can win head as well, but I wouldn't say it's a bad thing putting him in left back, seeing how he is. I think when Bertrand gets back, I'd rather see Bertrand be playing there as a natural left back. I mean, attacking wise, he'd offer a lot more, and he's okay defensively. But I'm more worried about Cedric really getting Valery back in the team instead of him. Yeah, I'd say Danso's looking very good. And if you play him in centre back, if you play 5 at the back a bit more, he'll fit in very, very nicely.
Sure. All right. Well, we have a couple more questions here from both Twitter and Instagram. We have one from Southampton News Now. It says, I know it's a tough one to ask, but should Che be dropped? So do you consider, if Redmond comes back fit and everybody's there, or even maybe without it, do you consider maybe just pulling him out of the starting lineup for a game or two just to let him come on as a sub and maybe kind of get his confidence back? Or do you think you just keep playing him through it and let him find his feet on the field?
I think that's a very difficult one. I think he should have played against Fulham, really. If you play him against Fulham, a weak defence that Fulham do have, he probably would have scored. I mean, I'd like to think so. That would have been really good for his confidence. Because second half we did really dominate that game. He would have done well. I'd like to see him and Obafemi play up front together. That would have been good to see instead of Redders and Ings. I'd say with Che, it's always a difficult one, but it's going to be the player's preference. Ralph's probably going to talk to him about it. I'd like to hope so. Maybe bench him you can play him for Sheffield, but maybe bench him against some of the clubs we have coming up. Just let him come onto the sub so he can find his feet into a game. Save his energy a lot more because he's still going to be very, very tired because it's a completely different setup he's playing in than at Birmingham. But it's going to be, when he gets our first goal, I'm confident that he's going to be playing a lot better. But I am surprised that we didn't play him in the cup games. I thought that would have been a good time to let him find his feet. But it's going to take him a while. So whichever way he's happy with, I'm sure that will work.
And last one, probably the most serious question we've had all day. It's from TT, who's at Marv Wait For It on Twitter. It says, who has the best hair, Vestergaard or Oriole? I'm slightly biased on this, given that I have been shaving my head now for more than half my life. But what would you go for? I mean, I would.
It's a hard one, though.
I'm not sure I could pull off Vestergaard's hair, even if I had it. I'm not sure I have that kind of confidence.
No, my head's too small.
I don't know. You got to have. My cousin's got super long hair, but he's also very tan and does yoga and plays. He's a professional musician. Like, he gets to do that. He's just got that swag.
Yeah, he's got the vibe.
I don't have that.
I'll probably pull off an Oriole, man. I reckon I could. Or when he first came to the club and he had a mohawk. That was good.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I actually my main goal yesterday, I was playing a tournament, and it was just don't get my head sunburnt, and so it was just like sunscreen on my head all day, and that's all good until it gets in your eyes, and then you're just running around kind of blind, which maybe that's my reason for just destroying the keepers instead of the actual back of the net yesterday. But also I was playing center half, so that's also there. So anyway, I have to go with Romeo, even though I truly admire Vestergaard's hair.
Yeah, I couldn't pull off Vestergaard's hair. It's one of a kind. I'm gonna have to go the Romeo mohawk, I thought. Yeah,
I'm there with you. All right, man. Well, is there anything else you'd like to discuss? I mean, we guys are going into the international break now. We have a little bit of some time for guys to get fit, time to recover, come back. We have a tough run of fixtures, and of course the all-important game coming up midweek against Portsmouth. That I think it's going to be difficult for if the guys aren't focused on it at some point. It's going to be, it's going to be hard because the fans are all that's all we're talking about. That's all we're thinking about.
That's all we care about right now.
And it is Ralph's job to kind of get the guys focused on the Premier League matches, because if you go into that with a kind of a poor mindset or a poor run of form, that's not what you want. You want to be rolling in there confident and just going in there and not underestimate, even though they are, several leagues below us that will just like to reinforce that fact. But you have to go in there and put out the full strength team, and I think just really show them, let them know where they stand and where they sit and what the difference is between the two clubs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's be real. We want to win that game. I'd rather win that game and finish 17th and just stay up than probably finish 14th. Because if we lose this while we're in the Premier League and we've been boasting about our manager and they're struggling in League One, it's going to be tough to take. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow. So focus, please. If any of the players, I doubt they listen. If any of the players listen or see this on Twitter, no, I bet they don't. If they see us on Twitter at all, I just hope that they take it seriously, because this is our cup final. This is seriously our cup final, and there will be a winner on the night. So it's not like you can say, "Oh, we'll play for a draw and then smash them up at St Mary's." It's all or nothing for this game.
Right. You don't really want to go to penalties that night. You want it to be done in open play and in regular time, and just have it. I want to demoralize them, to be completely honest.
Oh yeah, I want to just smash them into the ground. Definitely.
And we do have a bit of maybe a leg up, given that the Bournemouth match is on Friday night, so it gives us one extra day to kind of recover. So hopefully we're fit and firing for the match on, I think it's Tuesday. So I'm sure my boss will not at all mind that I'm not going to be there, just for no reason, but for no reason. Yeah. For a big reason for me. He obviously will not think it's that important. That's the difference between me and him, so it doesn't matter. But Rob, it's been great to catch up with you, and I'm so glad that you.
It's been really good.
I'm glad you enjoyed your time in the United States. I know we kind of kept in contact while you were here, and was trying to follow along, and it looked like you enjoyed it, and you got to see a part of the country. And I don't know if next year, if you come back over, if you go to the same camp or if they send you somewhere else. But if they send you out west anywhere, let me know.
Yeah, I'll definitely hit you up. Yeah, I'll see what happens. I mean, I'd like to. It is a lot of fun. If anyone's planning to do it, you can have a great time. But yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, links to your Twitter profile and your Instagram profile. You are at Rob Maddox _ on Instagram, and you are at James Lord Prowse on Twitter. They are in the show notes, so people can get in contact with you there if they don't already follow you. But awesome. Thank you so much, man, for coming on. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I hope to see you soon.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Rob Maddox for joining me. You can find him on Twitter at James Lord Prowse and on Instagram at Rob Maddox _ especially if you're interested in photography, be sure to check out his Instagram. It is a wonderful, catalog of all the places he's been, things he's seen, and been able to take photographs of. And there are nice images coming, as we talked about, of his trip to the United States. So special thanks to Rob for joining me again. And special thanks to you, listeners, for doing this. I'm happy to say that the month of August was the most popular month that the show has ever had. And it's pretty awesome. It makes me feel good. So thank you to all of you for listening. It really does mean a lot. And thanks for getting in touch with your questions, your comments, and just overall your support of the show. If you'd like to continue to do that, please follow along on social media. We are at SFCDELL _IVERY on Twitter and Instagram. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/SFC Delivery. Get in contact, share the show. That always helps a bit. And if you're interested in getting a little bit extra, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/SFC Delivery. And there, for as little as $2 a month, you get access to a private chat with just me and the rest of the patron members. You also get priority for having your questions answered each and every week. And if you join the $5 level, you get one extra episode per month. But really, just thanks for listening. That is what means the most. The show has a partner page. You can find them at Southampton page. That's where you should go for all your Southampton FC news and needs. So we didn't talk about the loans on the show, but they covered them on there. So go and check them out. The show logo is done by Matt Beling, and all music for the show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that you're listening to now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. We'll be back next week, of course, even through the international break. So be sure to stay in touch. Let us know what you think. And until then, remember that together, we march on.